happening tomorrow, of course, and we are starting with the Legacy seat. Talk me through these two decks and what players are playing them.
So we are starting with a really spicy one here. We have Joseph Bernal on Jeskai Planeswalkers on the left-hand side of your screen against Clay Spincklemire on the... Is that Clay Spincklemire? I think maybe that is. On Jeskai Delver over here it is. So this is an interesting matchup, kind of the traditional Delver versus Control type of thing. Both players actually feature some brand new cards with the fourth Airlingus, which is the X red-white spell. Make some 2/2s, go ahead and get the Monarch. Maybe we can get that card on screen, but should be a very interesting matchup. And we see kind of, the tempo deck versus the control deck. And this is the traditional, like, who's favored in these types of matchups.
Well, that obviously is going to be my next question, is who do you think would be favored in this, especially game one? Obviously, we see on the leftist side, Joseph being on the play. How huge is that going to be? Being able to obviously do that wasteland on turn two, basically.
Right. Yeah. So it's kind of strange because you wouldn't normally associate control decks with Wasteland, but given that this is Legacy and Wasteland is that powerful, we even see the control decks playing that card, which is kind of surprising. Usually you'll see that from the Delver side of things. But what appears to be an unchecked Delver, gotta like Clay's side at the current juncture. But I would tend to say that the non-Delver deck is probably a little bit favored in this matchup, given the fact that the Joseph can kind of go over the top of Clay's deck.
Yeah, so I'm just looking at the deck list now. Delver is we've got something quite similar. So it's kind of like a more powerful Murktide, right? Obviously, we've still got Murktides in this list, but instead of like counter spell, we have Force of. I'm going to call it Force of Me all day, just so that so you're all about where, ladies and gentlemen. But we've still got things like Baubles, Dragonlance Channelers, and we better get to back it up with things like Wasteland, as we see now, a Force of Me battle, ditching a. I believe that's a Teferi 3 getting exiled for the Force of Me. What's your art of choice? There's been many printings of this.
For the Force of Will, I mean, you got to go with the old school, right? Nothing beats the classic.
Or
I don't
you
know
like
about you.
the OG of cards?
Oh yeah, and okay, so this is a really interesting
I
line
was
here.
about to say this is probably something we should talk about, and this would be a surgical
So
extraction in the main.
yeah, Joseph Bernal not only has surgical extraction in the main, we wastelanded Volcanic Island, and now we're surgicaling Volcanic Island from Clay's deck list. Now, typically Delver decks, they don't really play a ton of dual lands. Take a look at Clay's deck list. Let me pull it up here. We have 3 Tundra, 3 Volcanic Island, and that's it. So
I was about to say,
surgical
that's it.
extraction on Volcanic Island, that's going to cut Clay off of, Clay off of red for the entire game.
Well, luckily, like looking at that, there's only 6 red spells, right? We got 2 lightning bolts, 4 Dragonlance Channels, so we're not cutting them off blue yet. But that is going to be able to hold them back potentially. I can't see if their hands. It's a bit of glare if there's any red cards in there. But Delver, remember, is on the battlefield. This is the game one plan, right? Get it on the battlefield and protect it. I think we've got a Murktide in there, Daze, couple of land, and a Bauble. So we're not maybe 2 turns away from seeing that Murktide come down. How come we're seeing this powerful card move its way from modern to legacy as well?
Just basically, there was a period in time in Legacy where people were playing. I don't know if you remember this, but Tombstalker was kind of when that card first got printed into Legacy, and the Delver decks are playing that. The thing about Delver of Secrets is the core is so good. Days, Wasteland, Force of Will, Cantrips, Delver of Secrets. All that core is so good that the core can really support any additional threat. So we've seen in the past, it's been Deathrite Shaman, it's been Renin 6, Dreadhorde Arcanist, and all those cards are on the ban list, and it really just doesn't matter. You can kind of just pick and choose whatever threat you want to add. But yeah, like you said, we have a Murktide of Days in hand. One thing that I will mention about cutting Clay off of red mana, no 4th Airlingus, and that is a really powerful card in particularly this matchup. Allowing Clay to kind of take the Monarch and be able to get up a bunch of cards, put a bunch of 2/2s into play. So with that card offline, would have to imagine that Joe's in a commanding position this game.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you. Just being able to cut someone off a whole color of mana from their deck, and that's one thing I want to touch on is why are we're seeing Delver decks move towards more 3 colors now instead of the traditional. We used to just have the 2 color blue red. Now we're kind of splashing. We've seen some in the past round splashing black. This one is obviously splashing white, going Jeskai. What's the reasons behind these?
So not too recently, the Delver decks were kind of predominantly blue-red. There was this was before the expressive iteration ban, where you kind of had everything that you needed in the blue-red shell. You had threats in the form of Murktide, card advantage in the form of expressive iteration, removal in the form of Lightning Bolt. But now that we've seen that with the banning of expressive iteration, you kind of have to go into a different color to get that card advantage spell. So the card advantage spell that Clay is going with this weekend is the aforementioned 4th Airlingus, which requires a white splash. And sometimes you'll see like Orcish Bowmaster, it sometimes Grixis Delver plays that card, so they splash for that. And that's kind of what they're looking for in that third color, is that card advantage spell that to fill the gap from the Express Federation ban.
I'm kind of seeing this advantage, start taking effect here, right? As obviously we've still got 10 points of life. That's still quite a lot for potentially a 4-turn clock. We know we don't have to worry about the lightning bolts on the other side, but we do need to start finding an answer for this Delver before it does end up finishing the clock. Lots of answers, though. If I'm looking at this main deck here, we've got lots of cheap ways to deal with it. Most of them in white.
Right, exactly. So we have, if we go ahead and take a look at Joseph's deck, we got some Swords to Plowshares and Prismatic Ending. Yeah, Swords to
Yeah.
Plowshares, Prismatic Ending. No lightning bolts for Joe. Actually, the only red card in Joe's deck is Fourth Air Lingus, from what I can tell. Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe some sideboard cards, but yeah, that's so it's almost like a blue-white deck, just splashing that card specifically because it is so powerful.
I was about to say, it shows how powerful it is. And this is one thing I love when new sets come out. Remember, it's only just come out. These, people are still kind of trying to tune decks, see what's good, what's not good. Obviously, we know about the One Ring. I'm sure we'll end up talking about that more in the next couple of rounds or so. But just seeing these other cards come into Modern and Legacy, and this isn't one that was on people's radars, really, I would say. It's kind of one just popped up. People have seen it being good. Obviously, a new one of the casters that was just on is big in this card. He's obviously a big legacy player, been streaming this, and he's been raving about how good that one is as well. So as we see a fetch here, both Tundras getting fetched up as we got no other choice.
Yeah, no, as we talked about, no red mana here for Clay. That is a Murktide region, and that is a huge threat. And the Delver has flipped and attacked a couple of times, so it looks like Joseph just fresh out of answers, just doesn't have any Force of Wills, doesn't have any Swords to Plowshares to remove these creatures. So, we're in spots like this from the blue-white side of things, you typically look for sweepers. And looking at Joe's deck list, there are no sweepers to be found, no verdicts, no turbiduses. So, really going to need a lot of help here. Maybe looking for something like maybe a Brainstorm into multiple removal spells to help answer these creatures. But Joseph, at 4 life, definitely on the back foot here.
Yeah, this is a lot of trouble. I'm literally trying to learn, like, what's the answer? It is going to have to be some combination of swords to start off with, I guess, get the Murktide off the battlefield, and then, hope our life points. I suppose we've got 2 turn clock if we can answer one. So we've got 2 draw steps potentially, see what we got going on. I didn't get a good look at the draw. This is one of my favorite things about casting Magic, is seeing if I can see what the card is when the player draws it, especially when it comes to alternate arts. And it looks like we've got nothing there, no cantrips, no way to dig through our deck, and we're just going to scoop it up. And we see on the other tables, it's like Living End has gone a game up and Mono Green Devotion's gone. So while these players are sideboard up, which one would you like to go to? Do you want to go to Modern or do you want to go to Pioneer?
Let's go to Modern.
Okay, let's do it.
Take a look at Modern. Maybe, I don't know if they're still shuffling up.
A Cascade Mirror. Okay, apparently they're shuffling up. So I guess let's go to the Pioneer one. Okay.
All right.
Mono Green Devotion, a deck that's close to mine and your heart. I know we both play this in paper against Control, and it doesn't look like it's going great right now.
Yeah, this is traditionally, it's really tough. I mean, I would say that I think a lot of the Mono Green players think that they're maybe unfavored against Control, but we see people like the likes of Bobby Fortinelli who have like very specific plans in this matchup. But I think for the most part, I like the Control side of things. They're very, especially given the presence of the card Farewell, that card can just undo so much work from the Devotion side of things, and even gets the graveyard for stuff like Flashback Storm the Festivals.
We're going to see, obviously, Cavalier managed to connect there. You got to be happy seeing when you're Mono Green kind of almost top decking, you see that. And also you get 2 Storms into the graveyard. So if we can get our Devotion higher, potentially we can start going off with them. We know that Mono Green can just win out of nowhere. I think that's another Cavalier in hand, potentially a Cure as well.
Yeah, we do see Will up a game here as well. So was able to take game 1. And yeah, like you mentioned, they've got a Cavalier on the battlefield that can go ahead and attack. Has to be a little bit weary of something like the Wandering Emperor. Typically, with the play patterns around the Wandering Emperor, you want to attack with multiple things so that if the Emperor hits the battlefield and exiles one of them, then that wouldn't be able to exile your only threat. But in a spot like this where Will only has 1 threat attacking, he might not even want to attack here.
So, like, obviously, we've got access to deck lists. So we can see what both players are kind of playing. This is the Lotus Field version. Why are we seeing this one kind of start or seeing play now? Why are we not just traditionally playing islands and plains? Why are we playing things like Lotus Field in these decks?
So the list that Jonathan Hobbs playing actually, I believe, does not have Lotus Fields, from what I can tell.
Looking at the wrong deck list then? Probably
the one that I'm looking at, yeah. So looks like just more of your traditional blue-white controls, got Teferi's Emperors, temporary lockdowns, counter spells in the form of Make Disappear, Absorb, and then the card advantage spell, Memory Deluge, removal spells, March for Otherworldly Light. But yeah, as far as now, like you mentioned, that is a good point to bring up. The Lotus Field decks are kind of typically more tap out based. They don't usually have a lot of counter spells. They're more playing to the battlefield, bunch of planeswalkers, sorcery speed, all that kind of stuff. They don't usually want to hold up their mana. As we see, Wilt does go ahead and attack here.
I'm
Cavalier
definitely looking at
Thorns.
the wrong list here. But anyway, we can carry on going. So yeah, so there is a couple of different builds of this as we see Hall of the Storm Giants come down there. Obviously, definitely not a second land drop for the game, so it's going to come into play tapped. Again, I warned you on this. I could talk about D&D all day long, and that is a D&D card. People know if you've watched me before, you know how much I love my D&D as the Cavaliers to get turned sideways. 10 damage coming across. Low devotion being made here, so this is going to be devotion count of 7, I believe. 7 plus that's 10. So we get to storm here. Pick
That's
2
exactly
permanent
enough.
into the battlefield. We're going to go for another Ophanissa plus a troll. So the first one of them is going to go to the graveyard. We get to have a look at our top 3 cards. Put a land, planeswalker, or creature into our hand. We're going to go with
Seiju. That's pretty good for Will, because Will can go ahead and maybe take care of the Hall of the Storm Giants or something along those lines. And Jonathan does not have anything.
Oh,
We're going to go ahead and pick up our cards, and that is going
that's
to
it.
be a very quick sweep for Will Krueger over 2-0 Jonathan Hobbs, and we're going to get right back into the legacy action.
Yeah, this is what we all know. It's where you want to be. As we're going to kick off game number 2. Remember, Jeskai Delver up a game, Clay. So Joseph will be on the play yet again. Just starting off with the fetch land. Where in Legacy, it kind of plays that slightly different, right? We don't crack our fetches straight away. We try and crack them at the last possible moment to benefit us because of cards like Wasteland. Something that people just tune in. Maybe you don't play Legacy. Maybe you're like, a modern player, Pioneer. It's a very different way of thinking of how you have to sequence your lands to use things like days to your advantage, etc.
Brainstorm as well. That's
Yeah,
another one that
brainstorm.
you typically want to hold fetch lands for. I'm curious to see if we have the same. Oh, do you think that Joseph kept the surgical extractions in after how game 1 went? We surgicaled
I hope
all of
so.
red mana
I
and
hope so.
still
Like
just
I
lost.
love got you cards. I love it
Yeah.
when it's just like, what? Okay, yep, sure. And like when you just don't expect it, it just blows you out. I've been boiled a few times. Let's just put it that way. You know what I mean? I've been boiled. That is remind me of that Planeswalker free drop. Stack ability
Narset.
key. Thank you.
Narset Parter of Veils. That is, I believe, 3 copies in Joseph's deck. Yeah, 4 copies. Excuse me. All 4 copies of Narset here. Very, very good against the cantrips, so like the brainstorms and the ponders of the world, preventing your opponent from drawing additional cards. And we're going to see a Swords to Plowshares take care of the Delver, something that Joseph could not find any copies of in game 1.
Exactly how he wants to fire stuff. Obviously, fetching basics. We spoke about that, and obviously we've seen Wastelands taking great effect. Wastelands with surgical, as game 1 went. It's you love to see it. Let's be honest. Everyone loves to see it. But now we've actually got our first red card cast. It is going to be the powerful 1-drop Dragonlance Chandler. Obviously, people go on about Ragavan quite a lot being a powerful 1-drop. Not in this format. That's gone. But almost you could argue that Dragonlance Chandler is more powerful in how we, with the kind of shells that we build around it.
Exactly. I mean, there have been conversations about modern, like the modern Murktide decks, where people have been discussing, what is the better 1-drop, Dragon's Rage Channel or Ragavan, and it is a legitimate conversation to be have. And like as you mentioned, we don't have an option in Legacy. The monkey
Mm-hmm.
has been extracted from the format, and
I like what you did there. I like it.
yeah, you like that?
I love a bit of flavor text and commentary. It's all go okay. So we get to pick 2 cards to the top in any order we like. Yep. Okay, we're happy with how that's going to be. Just fetching up basics. Do love to see it. What's your basics of choice when you play in paper?
I personally like to use beta basics. I don't have a ton of them.
Ooh.
I usually get like one of each, when I'm fetching or playing one of each in the index. So if I'm playing a monocolored deck, I'm not that rich, but
Mine vary depending on how many of the basic I need on what deck that I'm playing at. But that's good enough for you, chat. Let us know what basics do you play in your let's go with legacy deck. I feel like you're spending a lot of money on legacy. I want to see some fancy like Guru lands. Someone
I
out there
know.
playing Gurus or Alphas. Let us know, chat.
Somebody's got to have a really like big collection of Guru lands, like the really legacy players that have been playing legacy forever. They got a ton of Guru lands.
That's the scariest thing is when I sit are down opposite someone playing Legacy and their deck's fully foiled, I'm like, oh, I'm in for a bad
Yep.
day here.
Yeah, you're
They know
dead.
how to
That's
play
it.
this a lot
We're
better
done.
than me. As we're going to see, Swords is going to take out that Dragon Age channel. A little bit of life there gained. Both of these teams are 4-1, so still battling out to try and get themselves into the top 8. Want to be in those last 8 teams, starting in 92, ending in the top 8, and giving yourself a chance to get to the finals, which we now just told everybody that has a Pro Tour invite. Can't announce it anymore. Plus, it's a team event. I love team events. This is my favorite style of Magic to play. Sitting there with my friends. Obviously, I pick my team with I get 2 players that are better than me and that will carry me through the whole tournament. How do you kind of plan when you pick a team event?
I mean, I agree with you. I love team events. I just haven't I haven't been able to play one in quite a while with all the COVID situation and stuff. Last team event I think I played, I just honestly played with like 2 local friends. We actually it was Grand Prix DC was I think it was like Battle for Zendikar Limited. We actually started day 1 9-0, which was it was so
Oh,
much fun. And then well, I mean, we went 05 day 2, but
oh.
we can leave that part out,
We've all got our bad beat stories. I always team with my 2 old friends like we always team together. That's actually how the Will Hoy experience sort of name came about. But anyway, long story. And we came 9th at the 25th anniversary RC. So like obviously didn't get to play in that top 8 to get to the Pro Tour. It still bites. But
Yeah.
basically, if you're wondering why we're still talking for this chat, but players are just doing the things you kind of see a lot in Legacy, right? A lot of cantrips going through, kind of sculpting their hand, finding the cards they need. Devon's now going to tell you the sort of cards they are looking for, what they're trying to sculpt their hand towards, and how they can kind of break this stalemate and who it's going to favor.
Clay is really looking for threats, really wants to find, copies of Dragon Trade Channeler, Delver of Secrets, and the one probably looking for the most is Murktide Region. It looks like Clay's first 2 threats have been answered, 2 copies of Swords to Plowshares in Joseph's graveyard. And as far as Joseph is concerned, there's not a ton of like what you would traditionally associate with as threats per se, but Joseph has card Planeswalkers in the form of Narset and Teferi to get card advantage. And the way that Joseph is winning the game is mainly through the card for their Lingus, which is the X red white, make X 2/2s, and then they gain haste and I believe trample. And then when a creature you control deals combat damage to a player this turn, you become the monarch. Um, and that is Joseph's only way to actually deal damage. But
I'm gonna say that's
there's Mystic Sanctuary as well, which can rebuy the Fourth Lingus.
so so we have access to deck lists and we can see what's in the sideboards. Looking over at Joseph's side, I think he's got 3 more surgicals in the sideboard. Do you think he's like playing with it? Well, there's a lot of talk about this card and how it's probably one of the most over sideboard cards in Magic, as we see Narset come down. What's your sketch on it? Do you think it gets you over sideboarded?
Well, it's funny because I think that the card is exceptional against the graveyard decks like Reanimator. There's other decks that utilize the graveyard through combo, like the Cephalid Breakfast deck has the Narcomoeba Tread Return set up. So I think that there are certain matchups where it's very good. But Joseph, I'm assuming wanted to have 4 copies into 75 and was like, you know what? I got 59 cards. I got room for an extra card in the main deck. We'll just put the 4th one in the main deck. And unironically, it was really good game 1. We got to cut. Well, I
Yeah.
mean, he still lost the game. We got to cut Clay off red mana. But yeah, that's I do think the card is exceptional, especially with the presence of Reanimator. Like typically in paper legacy events, Reanimator is more represented than it would normally be given the price of it. It's one of the cheaper legacy
Yeah.
decks, and it's also one of the most powerful cheap legacy decks. So, definitely wants the surgicals for those matchups.
And speaking about cheap, Pyroblast. Obviously, both players have access. This is one of the more powerful counter sort of Magic spells in multiple decks in Legacy. That's kind of why you see Volcanic Islands kind of as a splash target, because they want to get that red source. So they have just cheap answers to things like Force of Me, Force of Negation, etc. And we saw that to great
Force of
effect
Me.
there. Look, I'm going to do it all day long. Get used to it, my
That's
friend.
fine. That's
Get
fine.
used to it. I
We
actually
get
drafted it once. I don't know which sweat set it was, but whatever it was, I actually opened one of my draft pool. Terrible in draft, but I was like, nope, I'm playing it. And every time I cast it, it was Force of Me. As we see this Murktide come down as a nice 6/6. Things in modern where we have to kind of work out. We're trying to want it to be a 7/7, so it dodges things like an Unholy Heat. Don't really have that in Legacy because we've got things like Swords Plowshare in this format, right?
Yeah, and we also, just go to the game specifically. We did talk about the removal spells that Joseph is going to need, and right as I say that, picked up a copy of Pyroblast.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's 2 copies of Swords to Plowshares in Joseph Graveyard, which those are the Prismatic Endings, which are the other removal spell of choice in Joseph's deck. Those cannot hit Murktide Region. So, very fortunate for Joseph to pick up a copy of Pyroblast here, so we can kind of contest this Murktide. And I mean, life totals are still relatively stable. Like there
Yeah.
hasn't really been a ton of action in terms of the red zone. We've seen all three of Clay's threats that Clay has presented have all been defeated. We're gonna have a fight over this. See if we
Yeah.
can maybe win the fight.
Force me in response, we're going to fetch. And this is where we're seeing the value of this, right? Like one red and pip, destroy target blue permanent or counter target blue permanent. So now it enables us to do this sort of back and forth battle where we're on the other side. They're using 2 cards to stop my 1 mana card, and we're gonna spell pierce it.
Mm.
No mana open to pay for that spell pierce. So yeah, both of them are going to go. We're going to gain a little bit of life. We do need to make sure that Murktide is. Is it just destroyed? Isn't it? I'm thinking of force negation.
Yeah, and with Joseph on one card, this would be kind of the perfect opportunity for Clay to find a copy of Fourth Lingus. Currently only has 2 lands, but even if you Fourth Lingus to make 1 token, if Joseph's last card is not exactly Swords to Plowshares, you get a hit him with that 2/2. You become the Monarch. It's really hard for Joseph to take the Monarch back without his own copy of Fourth Lingus. Again, Joseph's deck doesn't really have a lot of creatures in it, as we see a Channeler hit the battlefield here. Another threat here for Clay.
Yeah, the Monarchs, we only see this really in Legacy, right? Legacy and other formats like EDH, but Monarch is such a powerful card, being able to draw extra cards in your turn, which we know in Magic is one of the best things you can do, unless there's a Shield Raid or something on the other side, let's be honest. Or was it Bowmasters are now the new hot tech with people drawing lots of cards?
Well, Will, I would like to kind of counter your point. Would you
We'll go.
consider the One Ring to be a Monarch card because you are drawing extra cards every turn? It's kind of the same thing, right?
I feel like we need to hold that conversation because we're going to be talking about that a lot. But I think it's up there. It's up there, especially what's it. Any card that brings you back to playing Modern on your stream, I know it's the real deal. Basically, as we're going to see, a Narset's going to come down while they're tapped out. 1 card in hands. We know we don't have to play around the force of me. It's going to end up hitting the battlefield, and we're going to get to look at the top 5 cards of our 4 cards of our library. Look at that, as we say, it's straight on the screen.
Kind of the perfect card here for Joseph. The only thing you have to be a little bit careful of is if you downtick the Narset, the Channeler can threaten it. Given I'm just going to assume that there's Delirium. There's a lot of cards in Clay's graveyard. There may or may not be, but if you find a copy of Swords to Plowshares off of the Narset and you're able to kill the Channeler, then you can get a second card off Narset. So Joseph kind of weighing his options here. It's like, is it worth trying to gamble and hit the plow? Because if you miss, the Narset dies, or you could leave the Narset in play. Even if Clay attacks the Narset now to 2, you're still shutting off Brainstorms and other cantrips for that 1 turn window.
Which one do you like here? Obviously, because we're both in a top deck war right now. Basically, 1 card in hand. Yeah, the Planeswalkers on the battlefield. This could be my lack of experience. I like ticking it down because there's a chance I can get 2 activations from it. But doing it this way, I'm only going to get 1 activation, and then it's gone anyway. So, how do you like setting this up?
Chat's telling me there's a Swords to Plowshares at hand. So in that case, then I definitely like. Well, I'm actually kind of surprised we didn't downtick there.
Chat, come on, the chat. That's not a swords in hand. Come on, you all got baited there. There's no way that's a swords in hand. Let's have a look. Come on. Oh, okay. I'm being told there's definitely a swords in hand. So why would we not be firing it off there?
Days. Okay, I got a little off track there. Days. So Joseph tapped out for the Narset, and with them 1 mana untapped, did not want to fire the Swords to Plowshares into a potential Days from Clay. So that makes a lot of sense.
This is what I mean. See, legacy players are just literally next level big brain play. They're so thought through on their plays and everything comes through. And there's the swords. Chat with their big brain again. Well done, chat. Take your hat off. Take 5 points. As we're going to see, that's going to get exiled. A little bit of life gain. And now the Narset sits on the battlefield. And that's that's patience, right? On Joseph's side.
Exactly.
Really good patience there. I love that. As and being rewarded for it. Just to keep everyone updated, obviously Chris Anderson's managed to win the Cascade Mirror, Living End, taking that down 2-0. So it is on this game. The winner of this match will win it for their team. Jeskai Delver 1-up. Clay looking at 1 land, 3 cards in hand on against a active Narset and a couple of lands on the other side. I don't think we do like we do like that. Okay, we're gonna take this top card. Didn't get a good look at it.
As you mentioned, Joseph with the patience there, played the Narset, was understand that the Days was a potential card for Clay to have, didn't want to play the Plow into Narset, also didn't activate the Narset that turn. So just wanted to say, just like you mentioned, very well played by Joseph there.
Okay, 5 points to tell me what that card that just got counted was.
Savine's Reclamation.
Well done, you. Good.
I've seen that one before.
Has flashback though, so it's because it wasn't a force negation, just a force of me that got rid of it. There's a chance that can come back. We'll talk about that if it does. Oh, it's already on the screen. Well done, production team. Love to see it. Now, are you
Yeah.
cashing in this Narset, or is it too valuable with its static effect on the battlefield?
I mean, it's probably done its job. It's tough. I mean, Clay obviously could be sitting on a brainstorm or a ponder, but it kind of depends on what we. Who that was.
Mm-hmm.
That's the card that
Mm-hmm.
we've been talking about. Are we going to reveal it? We're going to go for a prismatic ending. Joseph or does not feel like he's in a position where he needs to put the pressure on. Or maybe he just
It's
has another copy in his
patience
hand. I
again.
think.
It's patience. I love it. I
Yeah,
literally love the patience of this.
I think Joseph did pick up a copy of Fourth Lingus, and that's why we didn't go for the second one. So. And there is a land from Clay. Let's see if we're going to go ahead and
That's a,
fire up a wasteland.
another alternate. I think that's one of the secret lair
Yeah,
wastelands.
one of
Love.
those. There's too many promos, Will.
Oh, I'm known for this. This is my thing, right? It's very rare a secret lair will catch me off guard. I know what most of them are, and as we say, this fourth Lingus is going to come down. That's going to be enough, and it's going to go to a game number 3. So we're going to see if we can get the deck list on the screen for you, so we can kind of see what sideboards the people are going to be bringing in. If you are just tuning in, though, where have you been? Welcome. You know, I mean, you were in round number 6. We've got a couple more left before we get to that coveted top 8, and this is the deck list for Clay. We saw the Pyroblast come in. Anything else you think would be coming in out of the sideboard?
As far as Clay is concerned, obviously, like you said, we saw the Pyroblast, maybe something like Force and Negation, given the presence of Fourth Lingus and Narset. That could be a potential card. Hydroblast could maybe again fight over Fourth Lingus, but there's not a lot of other red cards in Joseph's deck. Joseph does have his own Pyroblast, so maybe you Hydroblast to fight over that. Past that, not a ton. Maybe Surgical once you've seen the Savine's Reclamation. Doesn't know how many copies are in Joseph's deck though.
Okay, let's see if we can go across and look at Joseph's deck right now. There we go. It's up on the screen for you. So I think we saw the Pyroblasts come in. Anything else take your fancy in the sideboard? Oh, Mentors, sign me up all day. I don't know if this is the game for it, but I love that card.
Yeah, Monastery Mentor is probably more here for the combo matchups when you're trying to race. Although, I mean, I guess you still probably could consider bringing it in here because it's just another good threat that if you can if you go Mentor and Spell in the same turn, that's requires 2 answers from Clay sides of things. So potential that you may want to. Although it's a little awkward against Days. We did see the Pyroblast; those are slam dunks. Past that, maybe the second Sabine's Reclamation to rebuy Narsets to Fairies, but not really sure if Joseph wants to go towards that.
Okay, if you were a betting man, would you say that Surgical is staying in the main, or have we boarded that one out for one of these Pyroblasts?
Well, we saw a lot of cards from Joseph that game, but we didn't see any surgicals. So I'm willing to believe that Joseph may have cut them. It's kind of like a splitter twin situation where you have to draw surgical and the wasteland, because surgical is not maybe the best if you not draw the wasteland. Although, you could maybe surgical one of Clay's threats at that point, so it's tough.
I got you. So while they just finish up their sideboard, and welcome back to the virtual booth, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Will Hall, better known on the internet as Will Hall EXP, and I'm joined by the one and only Devin Donnelly, better known as Doomwake on the internet, and we're bringing you the NRG Series 10K team event. If you're not used to team events and what they consist of, you basically have 3 players, 1 person in a Pioneer seat, 1 person Modern, 1 person Legacy. 2 of the players have got to win the match. It's literally that simple. We spoke about it. Like, what if you were playing this week? If me and you on the team this weekend, let's say we have Mason as well. Which seats are you putting us in, Devin? Which seat would you want to be? I feel like you're a Pioneer man. I feel like I'd put you in the Pioneer.
I mean, over the past couple of weeks, I might want to switch to the Modern seat. Although I don't know if Mason's going to give up the Modern seat. So Mason would probably have to go Modern. I'd play Pioneer, and then I guess we would give you the Legacy seat.
You've messed up already there. You know what I mean? As long as you 2 carry me, that's fine by me. It's fine by me. We do love to see it. So I think the players are just finishing up the shuffling. Look, I'm just going to look. Yeah, I can see her down in there. But what deck would you bring this weekend? That's the other one. You know what I mean? You've got option to all these cards in any format. You said you want to sit in the Modern seat. What deck would you be bringing in Modern, and why?
In the Modern seat, I would be bringing Temur Rhinos, but I would have copies of the One Ring in that deck.
Oh,
and
okay,
I've experimented a little bit with that. I think the Ring is just kind of a ridiculous card, and it's good in almost every single deck that people play it in. There are decks that you might not even consider playing it in that it's good in. But yeah, it's Rhinos with the Ring. I would be playing.
Love to see it. Okay, so we are off to the races here. Jeskai Devo on the plate, and we see the namesake card of the deck come down. Delver of Secrets, exactly how we wanted to start this up. Chat, let us know, what decks would you be playing? In which seat would you be playing? I'm very interested to know, especially all the the new format Lord of the Rings that's just come out. We've got a Pro Tour coming up, so we're going to really see how Modern's going to shape up with that, if all the pros kind of attacking it. I feel like we're in that sort of era of unchecked territory. We don't really get this very often in Magic these days. Normally things get formats get broken quite quickly or solved, so to speak, because of certain streamers. Do mate. And we don't have this kind of surprise aspect. But at the minute, I think we're in a really good spot with the Lord of the Rings set being modern, Eternal format only. As we see on the battlefield, let's catch you up. So it looks like we had a little bit of a fight over the Delver, a Wastelands kind of co-op, and now we're having another fight over a Pyroblast. Everything just costing 1 mana here.
Yeah, fight over a cantrip here. So we got a Delver that got pyroblasted. Joseph's land got. Oh my goodness, that's a second wasteland. And I was wondering why. Maybe it was a little bit aggressive for Clay to kind of wasteland, or excuse me, pyroblast the ponder. But if you have a second wasteland to try and cut you off mana, it does make a lot of sense. And this is the classic legacy game: 2 wastelands, both.
Okay, cool. I was about to say, you don't see this in. I think this is turn 4. Both players starting off with. Is a Mystic Sanctuary, and now we get to this is one of the downsides to putting things in your opponent's graveyard really quickly. Is a Murktide comes down, nice 4/4 on turn number 4, I believe.
Yeah, is this turn 4? I don't even know. I guess there was 2
it's
wastelands.
turn 3 or 4, something along those lines.
Is it turn 1? I don't even know anymore.
It's all crazy.
The fact that both players had their one Mystic Sanctuary without, like, just in their hand without fetching it was pretty hilarious. But yeah, we see Clay with the Murktide region, and that's kind of that is the premier threat here. And like you mentioned, just filling up the graveyard is really beneficial for Clay because we can deploy that Murktide region. And as we talked about earlier, Joseph's Prismatic Enemies don't touch those. As we see a 4th Lingus being cast here for Clay, this is backbreaking for Joe.
Yeah, obviously we're trying to get this Monarch, right? Like, this isn't backbreaking with the amount of power we're putting on the battlefield. Realistically, we want this Monarch token emblem. It's an emblem, or is it a token? Talk to me.
Does it count as an emblem? I actually don't even know, but we got
Chat, let us know.
6 power coming in the red zone, and no removal spells here from Joseph, and that's going to mean we're going to need to draw multiple removal spells versus an opponent who has a personal Howling Mind. This is going to be a really tough game for Joseph to win.
Okay, this is going to be huge. The Monarch token is an emblem, chat's telling me. So thank you very much, chat. You know as well as I do, chat is never wrong. Even if they are wrong, they're still never wrong. They know everything. Monarch token obviously going to let us draw multiple cards a turn. And over on the other side, on Joseph's side, without having any creatures to be able to kind of steal that back of their own, it's going to be pretty hard for them to do that. The only thing they're going to have is this fourth of Engling, unless they bring in those Monastery Mentors, like we said.
Yeah, there is a Narset in Joseph's hand, but if you play the Narset, Clay can just, say, attack the Narset and keep drawing cards. I mean, with Joseph at 13, you could maybe even ignore the Narset, even if there's a third land from Joseph. So really needs to find like a Pyroblast, a Swords to Plowshare, something to be able to answer this Murktide region. And yeah, like we said, just the cards that Clay is going to gather in the meantime, because Joseph doesn't have a removal spell right now, it appears. That those cards are just going to be able to, just push Clay over the top. You see, it's a Fairy here that can help bounce the Murktide.
Yeah,
it's not bad.
I don't hate this, especially as it hits the battlefield. Dice being put on it, so it does resolve. So it means there's no days or Force of Me or something on the other side that's kind of giving that bit of information away. As it looks like Teferi, I imagine, is going to get ticked down here, and get us another card deeper in hand. Kind of doing its job almost. Murktide, there's not too many cards in the graveyard. I believe there's just the one, so they won't be coming down anytime soon.
Yeah, I'm probably going to want to go ahead and bounce like you said, the Murktide region. I guess considering bouncing the token, given that just gets removed from the battlefield, can't be replayed. But like we mentioned, given that there's only one card in the graveyard for Clay, likely that Murktide region getting bounced is essentially as good as killing it, anyways.
Yeah, right now it's going to be pretty rough. But again, it doesn't answer this Monarch token. It doesn't matter how many times we kind of answer these threats. When they're drawing 2 cards a turn and you're using you're playing 1 a turn, it's going to eventually run out. I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, we're definitely playing to the Jeskai Delver side, Clay side, like game plan here. A lot of early wastelands, a lot of counter magic, a lot of early threats. And over on the Joseph side, they're kind of almost playing catch up. And without the access to sweepers, could be a bit of a hard day for them, as that's a wasteland drawn off the Teferi.
Right. We kind of, when in the intro, we kind of talked about which particular player that we thought would be favored in the matchup. And I initially thought that Joseph would be, given that Joseph can kind of go over the top, maybe has a little bit more removal spells than Clay has threats. But specifically this card, 4th Lingus, because Joseph doesn't have that really any creatures in his deck. Once Clay takes the Monarch, it is so hard for Joseph to get out of that because, again, just doesn't have any way to steal that Monarch back.
Yeah, I think realistically, we're not calling the game early. This is Legacy. This is Magic. You can't ever call a game too early, realistically. But the advantage by if there was one, I'm going to push it to the right of the screen. Just in
Just a
this
little
sort
bit.
of, when you're drawing 2 cards, I can't emphasize just drawing 2 cards a turn and how good that is. Obviously, I'm sure we'll talk about 2, 4, 6 when we start seeing rings getting cast in Modern potentially a bit later on. But right now, I think in this, the advantage bar is going to go slight. Are you going face and just leaving this to Fairy?
Kind of depends on if Clay has a Force of Will in his hand. You might want to, like, if you have a Force of Will, you probably want to go after Teferi, given that, like, with Joseph on 13, if you attack Joseph to 9, it still doesn't change the, like, I guess it gives you 1 extra turn, right? Because if you attack Teferi, it all depends on maybe if you throw in, like, a 4th Airlingus in the mix. It also depends on whether or not you flip the Delver, because if you put Joseph to 9, you have 7 power in play, but if you attack Teferi, I guess it's still a 2-turn clock if you flip the Delver. And we're actually forcing a Delver here.
Yeah, we're
Interesting.
fighting over it. But again, this drops us a life point down, right? So now this Murktide will be a couple of hits now, because I believe the life total drops to 12. There it is. So now we are on a 3-turn clock. I do need you to start saying it's a force of me, though, please.
All right, fine.
Thank you very much. I
Well,
appreciate
no,
that.
if I say force of me, but it's
No,
not
force of you.
Devin,
Just say force of you. I'll
force
say
of
force of
you.
me.
Okay.
Chat
All right,
will
okay.
just have a go at us. It's all good. It's all good. So I like going face here, but that's just my style of play. I'm more aggressive. I don't think Teferi is doing too much. Yes, it's turning off my counter magic, but I don't. I think we've got a red Pyroblast in hand if we really wanted to deal with it.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, that 1 point that Joseph took, I think if Joseph was at 13 and not 12, maybe you consider attacking the Teferi. But given that Joseph kind of spotted you that extra turn off the clock, it kind of makes sense to go face here, because the Teferi, even if you leave the Teferi plus twice, it still will not be able to downtick before the Murktide kills you.
So again, little details there. Normally, people say attack and then play your spells. We played our spells pre-combat for that reason. Potentially, if it was, and now we know that the life totals marry up to an X amount of attacks. So again, really small margins, really well played by both players here. Love to see it. This is high-level Magic, and that's how you get to 4-1, potentially playing for 5-1 and keeping yourself live for this top 8. Remember, there's going to be 7 rounds today before that top 8. We are in round number 6.
And you know what's interesting here? The best way that Joseph could kind of claw back in this game is his own copy of 4th Airlingus to take back the Monarch. But if you look at Joseph's mana base, we have an island, a Mystic Sanctuary, and a plateau. We can't even cast it.
I love Magic so much. It's so crazy at times and how things kind of pan out. But can we scrape together a win? Remember, lightning bolts are still alive. They are. Would you be keeping them in? I think Delver keeps the lightning bolts in this matchup, or do they get replaced for things like the Pyroblast?
It's tough. Once you've seen Narset and 4th Airlingus, it's kind of you might want to keep them in, because if Narset goes down, you can then use a bolt to take care of it, or kind of same with 4th Airlingus token. If maybe you're like wastelanding Joseph off some mana and Joseph only cast 4th Airlingus for 1, then you could bolt the token and no Monarch gets taken. So maybe a couple copies, but probably not all 4.
I didn't see any in the little flick through there, but it doesn't mean that they're not in there. Again, all these different alternate arts we now have. They're having a little look. Can you see a lightning bolt in that hand? Didn't quite
He's
see it.
going too fast. I can't see anything.
Oh, okay, it's cool. Sorry, I've got you. I'm good at this.
All right, you're the spotter.
This is what I do. You just tell me all the right plays. I'll tell you what cards are in hand, and like we're in a real team. Okay, this is going to be a different one. This is. Let me see if I can get it up in my screen
Is that
for you.
a Maddening Hex?
That is correct. Well, you just told me you were blind and couldn't see that. That is a great. So what this one does: whenever an enchanted player casts a non-creature spell, roll a d6. Hex deals damage to that player equal to the result. Then attach Manning Hex to another one of the opponent's chosen at random. This is amazing. I've never seen this card before in my life. It tells me it's probably been in an EDH set. I am so happy I've just seen this being cast. I love rolling dice. D&D. I told you. I love my D&D.
There you go. Yeah,
Let's do
D&D
it.
stuff. This is basically a D&D card.
I'm in the process of getting a D&D cube at the minute, just to bore everybody at home. But if anybody wants to play, hit me up. And then we're going to follow up with a Delver of Secrets. A lot to come back here.
With Joseph at 4, good luck casting spells into that Maddening Hex.
I want to see it on a dice roll. Let's go. If it happens, chat, I want to see emotes flying up. I want to go off this. This is going to be one of those highlight moments that we're seeing throughout today in between the rounds. A dice roll being able to take someone down. But maybe not. Maybe we've got a way to get out of this. Yeah, we're having a little read. The amount of times I've lost to cards because I thought I knew what they did, and then I do get absolutely punished for it.
Yeah, we got a Tundra here from Joseph, so can finally deploy something like a fourth Airlingus. But I mean, even if you go fourth Airlingus, let's say you get to dodge the die roll, it's just there's so many threats going on here. There's the Murktide Regent, the Hex, the Delver. There's just so many things to contend with from Joseph's side.
Yeah.
And all right, we're gonna roll some dice.
Here comes Narset. Let's go. Let's go. 2. We're live. We're live. We're still good. We're still good.
All right, Joseph goes to 2.
Just about. Just about.
We could theoretically cast one more spell. Yeah, we could one more spell, roll a 1.
I love it. I literally love it. Okay, that's a lot of swords of options. I think there's 2 swords in that hand. I think that is one of the ones we're going to be taking. But what are you going to do? Swords, cool. You're going to die to Delver. If we live through this dice. Oh, okay, let's go. Come on. High roll me, baby. Let's go. 1, 1, 1. Oh, okay. We realized there's literally no outs.
We realized we had no outs.
I suppose it would have been they forget to attack, Teferi ticks up, Teferi bounce or whatever. But congratulations to that team being able to take it down and advance themselves to 5-1, giving themselves the best chance to maybe ID, if not play and definitely got a win in at least to get themselves into that top 8. But welcome back to the virtual news booth, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Will Hall. That is Devon Donnelly. We've taken you through round number 6. Round number 7 is going to come up real shortly. We're just going to see if we can get the players out. I'm going to ask the production team how many rounds or games left in the round. Oh, okay, so we've got 5 minutes. We're going to bring someone in for an interview. So, don't go anywhere. We've got lots of things to talk about. What's your highlight from that round, Devon?
The Surgical Wasteland play.
I knew it'd be.
It was great because we thought that was going to be extremely relevant, and then Clay was like, "Here's this Delver, here's this Murktide. I don't care. I don't need red mana." So I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, I told you, I love the little quirky ones that get you, and with Surgical being in the main and being able to take them off, strip them of red straight away. Unfortunately, they still lost that game, but this is Magic the Gathering. This is what it is. You know what I mean? It's and we've only got a handful of red spells in there.
Didn't need them.
I do need you to talk me through this Rhino build, though. It's in the back of my mind. Rhinos with the One Ring. I understand we're trying to jam the One Ring into everything. I understand you're a streamer. I understand it's a very good clickbait title. Genuinely, is the One Ring that powerful that we're paying it into our Castier decks now? And talk me through. Is it? But we've got no way of reoccurring it, right? There's no you don't play Teferis to bounce it. It's literally just once it's on the battlefield, it's going to keep ticking up to either you kill your opponent or you draw enough cards to do it. Is there any other ways to bounce it back? Otawara, I guess, is the...
Yeah, there's one Otawara, and then you can play 4 copies of the ring, so the ring can kind of reset itself, and that's why it's so powerful. That even if you've gotten into a point where you've put too many counters onto the ring, you just draw a second copy because you've drawn so many cards, and that can reset the first one. I've also experimented with versions that splash. The 4-color versions that splash white for Teferi and Binding, because Binding is good against opposing rings. But yeah, it's really just we're kind of in the ring format, and that's basically where we are.
Oh, we'll have to see. It looks like we're just getting our interview. It looks like they're sat down. I'm going to go across them. Clay, welcome. Congratulations. I mean,
thank you.
That one down. Oh, first off, I need to ask, what was your feeling when you got cut off red mana? We've been talking about that Surgical game 1. And all your red sources just go off the bat. Talk to me about it. What was going through your mind?
Yeah, so I was pretty scared that I was just gonna die and not be able to cast any spells. But I feel like I just had to be very aggressive that game, right? I was only gonna cast a couple spells. And if he had a removal spell for the Delver, I was pretty dead anyway. But my out was that my stuff's gonna live and I have to kill him as fast as I can. So I had to I got lucky. I didn't draw any of my red cards. I had 1 dead card at the end. But it was really lucky. If I was playing traditional blue-red Delver, I would have been totally screwed. I couldn't have even fetch for lands. But since I'm splashing white, it actually plays around Wasteland Surgical a little bit, which is kind of
funny. That brings us on to a good next question: is why we splashing white? We've seen some decks this weekend splashing black. You're splashing white. What are the reasons behind this?
Yeah, so the first reason is I think 4th Theolingus is a really, really good card. And especially looping it with Mystic Sanctuary, you have this late game plan against the control decks that you didn't really have before. Previously you would just put a Ponder or whatever, but since the iteration ban, there hasn't really been a good target to go late against the control decks. Where if you have 4 lands and a 4th Theolingus, they can't really beat that a lot of the time. And then also I noticed an uptick of the number of Shadow decks that were around, and I think Swords is really good against Shadow. The matchup's not great otherwise. So I don't know. There are also some nice sideboard cards. I think Containment Priest is really good with the uptick in Reanimator lately. But mostly it's for 4th Theolingus. I think that just adds a new dimension to the deck that it just didn't really have before. Yeah.
The last card before I pass you over to Devon, he's going to ask you questions. I want to know, Are there any cards in your 75 that you're kind of experimenting with this weekend? You know what I mean? There's a whole new set just got released. Are you playing around with any cards, or are you kind of just keeping it stock, going for the win, going for the W, trying to take this tournament down?
Yeah, so I actually stole most of this deck list from Theo Jung, so shout out to him.
Out.
But like, I noticed one of the things that I saw he was playing was a gut shot in the sideboard. I think that's really smart. Like you play against these Bowmasters decks, and like a lot of the times the problem isn't even that like Bowmasters are clocking you that hard. It just makes your turns really awkward. Like being able to like tap out to Brainstorm and still have a gut shot for the Bowmaster is really nice to like be able to sort of get some breathing room against those decks. I'm also experimenting with a Caracas in the sideboard that I don't really like. I think I should have just played a Containment Priest instead, but like there's some white cards that I'm experimenting with for sure. Yeah.
Talk to me about the Maddening Hex. We kind of got to finally see that in action. I mean, it was towards the end of the game where Joseph was maybe kind of already sort of locked out at that point. But how's that card been for you?
Yeah, so that card, it's been really impressive for me this tournament, actually. I played against like 3 different Jeskai control style of decks, and it's just like lights out in those matchups, right? They don't play really any creatures that they can like Snapcaster Mage sometimes, but like to do anything, they have to take damage. You play it. If they're at less than 10, the game's usually just over. And like I played it and just killed people from 20 before, you know, like the trouble with the matchup a lot of the times is like they just like swords and snap swords, but like if they can only cast 7 spells before they die, like eventually they just run out of life points, you know, even if you never connect with the creature, which is really cool. Yeah.
I love it,
Perfect.
by the way. I love, like, I'm a big D&D fan. Anything where we've got to roll dice to kill my opponent, I'm so here for it.
It's also just fun. Like, come on, I want to roll some dice. Yeah.
Yeah,
We're all here
exactly.
for, right? Magic
Oh,
the
yeah.
Gathering, we're
Yeah.
here to have fun.
For sure.
Winning is fun, especially when you're rolling dice with these crazy cards from I'm pretty sure it's from a Commander set. I'm not going to lie, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's some fake set. Yeah.
Any other questions, Devin?
I was going to ask about the gut shot, but we already covered that. So I think that's all I got.
Okay, cool. So what I'm going to finish up. What decks are you trying to dodge? What don't you want to be playing against?
I think Bowmaster matchups are pretty bad. Like the mirror with Bowmaster is like not a great matchup. But I don't know. I think Delver's sort of like matchup agnostic deck. I just like try to have 1-drops and dazes, and we'll see what happens. Yeah.
Cool. Right. I think that was either time of the round being called or the next round being called. So we're not going to hold you back anymore. We're going to let you off. Congratulations on taking this one down. Good luck in the next round. Hopefully we get to see you in the top 8.
Thank you.
Cheers. Appreciate it. Welcome back to the booth, ladies and gentlemen. Will Hall, Devin O'Donnell. We are taking you through round number 6. We're going to have a real short break, and then we're going to come back with round number 7. So make sure you don't go anywhere. Stick around. See you all soon.